This is Markin Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Follow on Twitter. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Marking Out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. Brennan likes fisting. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. We marking out, y'all. We're marking out. Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans.
Welcome to Markin Out, Pro Wrestling Talk by Pro Wrestling fans. This is episode 713. Make sure that you're checking us out at markinout.com. Listen to all of our episodes at markinout.com, but also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, and Spotify. Make sure, and iHeartRadio or Amazon Podcast,
Apple
wherever.
Podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts, wherever I didn't say, you know you're there. Just search Markin Out. Give us a 5-star rating to go with that 5-star frog splash. Give us a follow over on Twitter at Markin Out. Over on TikTok at Markin Out. Facebook, give us a like. Buy a t-shirt, prowrestlingtees.com/markinout. Give us a follow over on Instagram at markinout11. Follow me, myself, and I, Dave the Rave, over at David PT. DPT, Chris at Chris Sweendog over on Twitter, and CM Sweeney85 on Instagram, and Brandon on all social media platforms at BTTG161. Brandon, how are you?
I am doing awesome as always. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. It is getting cold.
Is it though?
Oh yeah, it's getting a little bit too cold for me.
What do you mean? This is it's in the 60s. What do you mean cold?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to still be in the 70s this weekend. That's not cold.
No, it's dropping to it was in the 50s before.
I mean, 50s at night. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But even still, I appreciate the colder weather.
Tomorrow, 56, 57, 58, 60, 54, 58, 51, 51,
You're
47.
You're reading the at nights.
No.
What do you mean? The highs are not 50s and 40s.
Well, I'm talking about the lows. The lows
Okay,
are the lows.
that's mostly at night. That's when the lows
the
come
highs.
into play.
The most high we got is 75.
Right. On what, Saturday for you?
Saturday.
Yeah, so?
Yeah, no, not a fan. Not a fan. Ready to move.
Move to where? You'll be freezing cold in Florida.
I don't know. I'm going somewhere south.
There is nothing.
South of the border.
You want a different side of the country.
I need a change.
Well, how was your week this week?
My week was good. How about yours?
Mine was good. I didn't do much. I made hamburgers in a frying pan, and I hate doing that because everything gets everywhere. And I would prefer, I don't have the right pans to what I think you need to make burgers in. Mm-hmm. So I just hate doing that. But that's really all I did this week. We did have unfortunate news coming like one after the other this week. One of the bigger names, Dikembe Mutombo, passed away at the age of 58. I think they said brain cancer. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, he had brain cancer for a very long time. So unfortunate.
He was a legendary basketball player, an NBA Hall of Famer, very, very charismatic, and known for shot blocking and doing that finger wave. Yeah, which even made its way into that Geico commercial. I think it was like 2013 or so, which, I mean, everybody repeated it back then.
Yeah, we know a few people from the Geico commercials.
I also, I believe Dikembe Mutombo was a fan of pro wrestling, and he could be seen on an episode of SmackDown in 2022 taking photographs, like all of us would be, in the crowd of Brock Lesnar. And I know, based on a WWE.com article, he also attended a live event back in 2007, which is worded so weird. The ECW extremists, he got to meet them. But it's very unfortunate that he passed away. We also found out that WWE Hall of Famer Pete Rose passed away at the age of 83, which is very crazy that he literally was just signing autographs at a convention for the past 3 days leading up to him passing away. That's crazy. But
Yeah, very sad.
Pete Rose holds the record in Major League Baseball as the all-time hits leader. And like I said, he is in the WWE Hall of Fame, although he's banned from the Major League Baseball, the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is still ridiculous. Every single show that talks about baseball, all these places, all these teams, they have sponsorships with betting now.
Yeah, he should definitely be allowed to be in the Hall of Fame.
100% should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Nobody's touching his record right now.
I mean, if you really wanted to, you could always put something in his message about how he was banned from baseball for X amount of time.
It's just absurd. It's absurd.
You can mention it in a blurb about him where they have like little information on who the people are. You could say something about it, but you could acknowledge it because it is history.
Right.
But don't just ban the guy.
Yeah, but he was the first inductee to the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame in 2004. So I did see him at WrestleMania 20. But he appeared first at WrestleMania 14. He did WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 2000. He'd have run-ins with Kane. He had run-ins
multiple
with
times.
Rikishi. Yeah. Kane and Pete Rose reunited in 2002 for a commercial for No Mercy. And then Kane had inducted him into the Hall of Fame in 2004 that year. But in 2010, he guest hosted Monday Night Raw, where he and Kane would reunite again. But everything that he did with pro wrestling was so good, and his promo at WrestleMania 14 was so epic that I quote it very often, where he's like, I left tickets for Bill Buckner, but he couldn't bend over to pick him up. How about it? And that's literally one of my favorite quotes that I've ever heard in pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. I have a really great picture of Canyon holding a signed Pete Rose baseball from the side of the stage at WrestleMania 20. So I think that's pretty cool. But my dad went to a signing of his in 2016. My dad was in Las Vegas, and I guess Pete Rose would just do these random signings in a mall in Las Vegas. And his manager told my dad that Pete Rose would 100% do a bumper for Markin Out if he got the signed 8x10. So my dad got the signed 8x10. This was, by the way, one of my top wants for bumpers as far as Markin Out goes. Mm-hmm. And he got the 8x10 signed, and Pete Rose, he asked Pete about the bumper. He goes, I'm not doing that. And my dad's like, your manager said you would. And then they started arguing over that. And in my mind, they ended up yelling at one another, which I picture to be like a Curb Your Enthusiasm situation, but the yelling didn't actually happen. So it's unfortunate that Pete Rose said no to doing a bumper, but at least I have the signed 8x10. And again, in a perfect world, the 8x10 would have been.
Maybe you have to change the phrasing. Don't call it a bumper. Call it a voice memo.
Called it a bumper.
We don't want.
He didn't call it a bumper.
I mean, we don't want everybody to confuse it like Big Show.
Yeah, but he did call it a bumper. My dad wouldn't have known to say that. He would have just said voice clip or something. But in a perfect world, that picture would be of him at WrestleMania or something as the San Diego Chicken. But it's also a very iconic photo of him sliding into plate. So WWE paid tribute to Pete Rose on Monday Night Raw. And I think we could go ahead and move over to Monday Night Raw, which was the final 3-hour Monday Night Raw for now.
Thank goodness.
Next week goes to 2 hours. It moved to 3 hours back in 2012 which means we outlived a 3-hour Monday Night Raws. So
I am so happy to hear this because I can't do 3-hour Monday Night Raws anymore.
Well, SmackDown, they say, is going to be 3
this.
hours, so that sucks.
Yeah.
That really
sucks for you.
Yeah, that really sucks.
They heard my cries that I'm not able to do as much viewing all the time, and they just tossed it all onto you.
But again, we don't know what Netflix will look like for Raw.
Yeah, watch. I just screwed myself. They're gonna bump it to 3.5 hours on Netflix.
The brand new 4-hour Monday Night Raw live on Netflix.
Yeah,
no password sharing.
Yeah.
But Monday Night Raw opened up with Jey Uso. First of all, brand new Intercontinental Championship. They added blue to the newer design, and I think it looks so much nicer. I really wish they would add the blue to the SmackDown Tag Team Championships as well. But Jey Uso spoke about the people making it difficult for him to get to this point in his career, like Roman Reigns. And he put over his mom. Braun Breaker interrupted and said that he's not out there to do any harm. He's out there because of the respect he has for the championship, which means he has the same amount of respect for Jey Uso. And he's not going to attack Jey, but he felt it necessary that he be the first person to publicly congratulate him for winning the Intercontinental Championship. So I thought that was a nice, I guess, perhaps
confusing. I don't think it should have happened.
I don't know. Everyone calls Braun Breaker a heel, but the fans go nuts for him.
Exactly.
But the fans go nuts for him, so I don't consider him a heel.
To me, it's stupid. They are making him into the Big Show or Natalya. Is he heel? Is he face?
I don't know.
He's been breaking rules. He's been doing heel stuff, not listening to Adam Pearce. He is a total heel, going after a face, and now you're going to send him out there and confront Jey Uso without a conflict.
But again, maybe he's the next big baby face on the roster.
Well, that's the thing. But then right now, I'm not. But I don't think right now. I don't think that was a good idea.
He's
heel. Keep him heel.
Later on, we'll talk about it as well. So,
yeah.
First match of the evening saw Xavier Woods pick up the victory over Rey Mysterio, with the craziest part being Xavier Woods trying to reverse a move from Rey Mysterio, rips off Rey Mysterio's mask before actually taking advantage of that to pick up the victory.
Yeah, this was, at first it seemed like it was a botch. Like, at first it seemed like there was a mistake which
it might have still been.
Yeah, it might have still been, where there was like a reversal that looked like it was going to be into a Scorpion Death Drop, reverse DDT kind of a position. Like, it looked a little bit weird, but then it went right into this roll-up. Well, it went right into another sequence where Xavier Woods snagged the mask, so it kind of like, it happened so fast that it made you forget about the spot that just took place.
I literally gasped when that happened. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, Xavier Woods was so confused when he had it in his hand and he went for the roll-up. I mean, can you blame him?
And I think that's great. I think that's a fantastic way to have Xavier Woods not be a heel, but still winning kind of by accident.
Yeah.
But also on purpose at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kofi Kingston questioned Xavier Woods whether or not he did that on purpose, which Woods is like, are you kidding me? And then Kofi Kingston brought up that Jey offered him a title shot for the Intercontinental Championship. And Kofi Kingston was like, since I gave you the reins for this month, I passed it on to you. So next week for the Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw, we have Xavier Woods versus Jey Uso. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Xavier Woods is going to be winning that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be winning it. I mean, we can easily see Woods flip out and attack Xavier Woods. I mean, Jey Uso is probably the biggest babyface on the roster right now, based on fan interactions. And if Woods loses
Well,
or
hold on.
something?
You
Or
can't base off fan interactions. Braun Breaker might be up there too then.
true, but even still, I feel like that this would be the time to turn Woods where he just flips out on him.
I did see some people say that they think maybe instead of having New Day break up, it'll be both of them turning heel. I'm not opposed to that either.
Why would both of them turn heel? Like, why? What makes you say about Kofi turning heel?
There was a backstage segment, I believe, that was on Twitter,
Uh-huh.
and Kofi Kingston was yelling, I believe. So I think, based off of that, perhaps. But later in the night, we had Chad Gable pick up the victory over Kofi Kingston, which there was a lot of that pin stuff that I don't like. But Chad Gable got out of one of the last pins by bridging his neck. I know you're against that stuff, but I thought that was a good way to get out of that pin.
I don't know, too much neck pain.
Also, I liked how Chad Gable picked Kofi Kingston's ankle from a dive off the top rope, and then again he picked the ankle in the Trouble in Paradise. And then Kofi Kingston hits that SOS. Gable grabs the rope and quickly gets out of the ring. Very smart on Chad Gable. Kofi Kingston, the craziest part, goes for a Trouble in Paradise later on in the match. Xavier Woods coming off looking pretty stupid here. He grabs Chad Gable's leg to try to help out Kofi Kingston. Kofi pulls the trigger and obviously misses the move. And then Chad Gable was able to get the victory off of that. That was a pretty crazy spot for, like, storyline-wise between the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with New Day, obviously next week, and that Intercontinental Championship match. Something that we forgot to mention last week was that they aired a vignette that everybody went crazy for because they thought it was like the Lucha Bros.
Yeah.
Right off the top of my head, I'm like, oh, hell yeah, the Viking Raiders are coming back. And everyone's like, wow, Penta, Ray Phoenix, it says it right there. And then it turned out to be the runes and stuff. Runic. So they aired another one this week. It seems like we could potentially see the return of War Raiders instead of Viking Raiders.
I mean, that would be really awesome.
I think that's exciting.
No, I totally agree with
something
you.
that we really didn't like was that name change. It obviously grew on me.
Yeah.
Obviously, the what was the Viking Experience was the first. The first.
I mean, apparently,
trial.
I mean, it's known to be a Vince McMahon thing.
Well, I think that's what it probably was, but hopefully we'll see. Well, also War Raiders. I think maybe they said they couldn't have War being mentioned on TV. I don't know. Even though the name of the show used to be Raw's War.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. Fingers crossed that we have War Raiders coming back. We had Zoe Stark pick up the victory over Lyra Valkyria. Lyra had to go at this alone because Natalya wasn't there. Zelina Vega wasn't there. We had Shayna Baszler distract the referee, and then Sonya Deville kneed Lyra Valkyria in the face, leading to the Z360. The distraction spot was super messy. I didn't like that distraction spot at all because you had Shayna Baszler get up on the ring apron, and then by the time the referee was already done with that, he had to focus his attention towards Lyra still or towards whoever. I forget. I guess Shayna. Or no, was it Zoe? Probably towards Zoe.
I can't remember.
Because Sonya Deville then finally knees Lyra in the face. So that was messy to me. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance returned to help Lyra Valkyria afterwards. There were some messy spots there where Kaden Carter was just standing there watching Shayna Baszler attack, which I thought was weird, but Katana Chance has a face mask. She has had a broken nose from Zoe Stark from the Z360. And then
did she actually break her nose?
Yeah, and that's why they've been off TV for as long as they have. But they cut a fired up promo afterwards, which got interrupted from the Unholy Union. So I'm sure we'll see those two teams face off next week.
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
After that, we had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. This was done inside of the Hell in a Cell, which last week I mentioned, I was like, there's nothing else that we need for this match between these two. But I think given that it took place inside the Hell in a Cell, it was much better than what I thought we were going to get.
I agree. I wasn't expecting it to be inside of this, and I thought it really set the tone.
You had tons of security. Drew McIntyre wore a tuxedo because according to him, he'll be celebrating when CM Punk's gone forever. CM Punk dressed, aside from his logo, pretty much in all white. And he said that he's been staying in a hotel for the past month just so he doesn't subject his wife to this. And he said that when Hell in a Cell is done, McIntyre's not going to be praying to God. He's not going to be praying to the devil. He'll be praying to him. So, how do you not have this close the show?
I feel like you have to at this rate.
Between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus the Bloodline, and this, I think this should be the one closing the show. This is the Bad Blood feud.
Yeah.
More so. I mean, obviously you have Cody and the new Bloodline, but that one is like a somewhat of a brand new feud. It's a spin-off of what would have been the Bad Blood feud.
I'm a big fan of it. I think that this should definitely be the closing.
On Monday Night Raw, we saw the Judgment Day pick up the victory over the LWO. Finn Balor at first was not there because he was prepping for something. Some people think that the Demon could be coming on Saturday.
I hope not. I don't think there's the time.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But in this
doesn't have to be right now. Don't force it.
Again, though, I don't know if that would necessarily be a forced thing. He could be preparing to be like getting the Demon ready. It's not something that they have like they've been feuding for a bit with Damian Priest. But I don't think even the name of the event, Bad Blood, is a great name for an event for the Demon to return. But I just don't. I can't see it.
Yeah, it's just not needed. I don't think even Bad Blood. We have enough of the Bad Blood aspects through so many other matches. You don't need the Demon.
As far as this match goes, that coast to coast that Cruz del Toro hit on all three members of the Judgment Day, I thought was dope. But Liv Morgan got up on the apron. Finn Balor showed up and he pushed Joaquin Wilde off the top rope, and that led to the end of the match. And then Finn Balor ends up cutting a promo on Damian Priest afterwards and said that he doesn't have a heart. And he's going to prove that it was always Damian Priest that needed them and not the other way around. And Liv Morgan spoke, but what?
No, you're good.
Rhea Ripley interrupted that and brought out that shark cage. And she said that she knows a lot of secrets about Dominic, including one that he's claustrophobic. And Damian Priest showed up from behind, knocked out JD McDonough, knocks out Carlito, and then brawls with Finn Balor. Rhea Ripley took out Dominic and Liv. Then Liv ends up running off as Rhea Ripley continued to beat down Dominic. And then she threw him into the shark cage. Liv Morgan makes the save before she can close the door on that. The Judgment Day also came back and took Damian Priest out. So they come out on top. I thought it was funny that Joe Tessitore questioned them doing that to Damian Priest. Like, how could they do this? Meanwhile, Damian Priest tried to like knock them all out from behind.
He tried to do what he could do, but
It's kind of a cheap shot, though.
All right, cheap shot, but you got to do what you got to do.
But also, I'm gonna say probably no Demon on Saturday.
I agree with you. I don't think there's going to be any Demon at all on Saturday.
Earlier in the night, we had an interview with Sami Zayn, basically saying he's coming for Gunther, he's coming for the championship. And then later on, Gunther came out. Commentary told us, by the way, that during a live event, Dragunov faced off Gunther and unfortunately tore his ACL. So
yeah, it totally sucks. I didn't see this posted anywhere either. Did you?
I don't know if it's posted anywhere, but they literally they mentioned it. So,
but I mean, like before this, like it was done at a live event, but nobody posted it.
Oh yeah, I didn't see any rumors or anything of that. No.
That's why I was really surprised about that, because usually if an injury takes place at a live event, you pretty much hear about it.
Unless maybe he finished everything that he needed to do and walked off on his own.
I think from what I saw, he was carried off.
Oh, so yeah, I don't know.
Or like he was helped by the referee to the back.
So Sami Zayn ends up interrupting Gunther and said that if Gunther wants this to end, just give him the title shot. And Sami said that if he's not on Gunther's level, then how did he beat Gunther at WrestleMania? And Gunther said that losing to Sami Zayn was the biggest embarrassment of his career. And they went back and forth about their families. And Sami Zayn said that after he beats Gunther, Gunther didn't ask for a rematch. Or after Sami beat Gunther didn't ask for one. He literally hid from television because his dad made him feel like a loser. And then Sami Zayn called Gunther a coward, and Gunther attacked him. And it ended with Gunther powerbombing Sami Zayn and Gunther giving him the match. So next week on Monday Night Raw, I was wrong about Bad Blood. We're going to see Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the World Heavyweight Championship.
I can't see it. I don't think that Gunther's going to lose to Sami Zayn.
Nor do I.
At all.
And Braun Breaker, going back to him, he put Gunther on notice backstage.
I kind of need this Sami Zayn Gunther thing to break away, though.
I think that's done. I think it's done next week.
Yeah, it has to be. This has to be it. But then what happens? But then what do you do with Sami Zayn?
I don't know.
He loses. Now where?
Kevin Owens? I don't know. SmackDown? Yeah. I don't know.
I know.
Earlier in the night, Miz tried to talk to Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman basically brushes him off, says he needs to focus on his match with Bronson Reed. Then R-Truth returned and told Miz that he got them a match. Obviously, he didn't know it was against AOP. It turns out to be Authors of Pain, though, and then they beat Awesome Truth, which, by the way, there was a Karrion Kross promo that was aired on Twitter.
It was awesome.
I don't know why that wasn't on television. Maybe because of time constraints or whatever, but he spoke about everyone getting destroyed by him in NXT. And then he got called up to the main roster and was basically embarrassed and released within, 4 weeks or 4 months or something?
Give or take, yeah.
So I thought that was a very well done promo. But as far as this match goes, Miz ends up getting tagged in by R-Truth, and then he kicks R-Truth. And I yelled out, no! Karrion Kross is standing outside the ring smiling. He was happy, very happy that happened.
Yeah. What do you think about this turn?
I don't know where this leads to now.
I don't know either. I really don't know what's next.
Karrion Kross is getting into everybody's head, though.
I mean, how big is this faction supposed to be?
What faction? Miz isn't joining their faction.
You don't think?
No.
So what? He's just gonna.
That's
start
like
to
that's
turn...
like is Xavier Woods joining the Final Testament? No.
I was expecting him, if he turned, I was expecting him to join.
No.
So you think everything that Karrion Kross is doing, he's just getting into the ear of for some of these faces and turning them heel, but still remaining separate.
He's told us everything already, and none of them have joined. So, But we'll see what happens with The Miz. In the main event of Monday Night Raw, we had Braun Strowman pick up the victory over Bronson Reed in a last monster standing match. This went, I think, how you would expect it to go. I liked Braun Strowman chokeslamming Bronson Reed off those steel steps through the commentary table. Bronson Reed hit a Death Valley driver off the production cases onto some tables out by the entrance.
This had everything.
We unlocked a new barricade spot. Finally. Finally. They went through the one barricade, and then they went through the barricade leading to the front row of the crowd. We might have seen that like once before, but I don't really remember it off the top of my head.
I can't even remember.
But I popped big time for that one. And Bronson Reed hit 2 tsunamis. The referee, man, was busy dealing with the barricade.
You said it like you were stoned, like a Cheech and Chong or something.
Very dumb, man. The referee looked kind of dumb.
Or maybe like a hippie.
I hated that the referee was not in the ring. Why does the referee care about the barricade? Tell me that. Why does he care about the barricade?
I mean, what happens if a fan jumps the barricade or runs through
Then
it?
a fan jumps the barricade. We had security. There was a bunch of security there. Which Bronson Reed starts hitting some of them, and then Adam Pearce got pissed off. Braun Strowman dives from the top rope onto a bunch of security guards, as well as Bronson Reed. And then Braun Strowman went to the top rope again. Bronson Reed threw a chair at him. Bronson Reed superplexed Braun Strowman. The ring collapses. I think that's our 4th ring collapse spot in the history of WWE, ring collapses.
No way.
Yeah, the first one, Big Show and Brock Lesnar on SmackDown. There was Big Show and Mark Henry. There was...
They didn't just do this spot recently?
No. I don't.
Why
think,
is it I felt like they just did a
recently.
ring spot?
Then there was...
With Bronson Reed?
No.
Huh.
It was just those 4 times.
Okay.
And then I guess if you... I don't count the one where Brock Lesnar did the gimmick to the thing.
I don't remember.
What's it called? The forklift thing? Not the forklift, whatever you would call it. At SummerSlam?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was Brock and Big Show. It was Big Show and Braun. It was Big Show and Mark Henry. Flip those two in the timeline order. And then obviously Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. And then Seth Rollins shows up, hits a curb stomp on Bronson Reed, and Braun Strowman wins that match. But technically, the referee should have restarted his count when Seth hit that curb stomp. But the referee finished counting right as Monday Night Raw was ready to go off the air.
That's very true.
So I think that's probably why they didn't. That was a wild ending to Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And it's good to have Seth Rollins back.
I agree. I think that his return was great. The fans loved it. But this match, I think this is a huge opportunity for these guys, and they left it all out there.
I just hope Braun Strowman didn't get injured.
No,
there was that one point he started running, and it was like he's not even running. He's like walking.
Yeah, I can only imagine how his knees must be feeling.
I don't even know if it would be his knees. It might be his groin.
It could be.
So hopefully not, but that's Monday Night Raw. Moving over to the very first episode of NXT live on the CW network.
There is a brand new logo. There's a brand new theme song. I think it's much better than the SmackDown theme song. It's 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne. Also, the logo kind of reminds me of NXT TakeOver Brooklyn being black and white. But the show opened up with Shawn Michaels. He unveiled a new women's championship, a new NXT championship. And then Triple H showed up and they did the Are You Ready gimmick together just to open the show. Fans were going nuts for them. The first match was Roxanne Perez picking up the victory over Julia to retain the NXT championship. This felt like a premium live event, and the crowd was very hot for it. They had a lot of reversals in this match. Roxanne Perez kicked out of the G-Trigger. Julia got hit with Pop Rocks and rolled out of the ring. And then she hit that Northern Lights bomb on the outside to Roxanne Perez. Roxanne tried to use her championship at one point. And when the referee was distracted with that, Cora Jade showed up, hit a DDT on Julia, and then Roxanne Perez hit a second Pop Rocks to pick up the victory there. Cora Jade did a reveal after the match, but I knew it was her as soon as she came out. So I'm happy that she's back. I'm glad she's back from her injury. Wes Lee picked up the victory over Zachary Wentz in a Chicago street fight. They started this right off the bat, right away crazy. They had a lot of good weapon spots. Zachary Wentz hit a swanton onto Wes Lee, who was inside the trash can. We saw Wes Lee push Zachary Wentz off the top rope when he went for that UFO cutter. And Wentz hit a table, but also missed the table on the outside, which was like a crazy spot. They used a chain to knock each other out at one point. Then Wes Lee used that chain to wrap it around his feet, his legs, and hit a Meteora to pick up the victory. I thought this was well done. The most interesting, not the most interesting thing, an interesting thing of note, no TNA nameplate. I don't know if that was a mistake or what. After that, we had a Miz TV segment with Tony D'Angelo and Obafemi. This felt like it ran long. But the main things to take away from this were Obafemi telling Tony D'Angelo that he can't have his family there next week to do things for him, and he can't beat him. And Tony D'Angelo was like, "You're just a man." I don't think I can't see Tony D'Angelo winning that championship next week, though. You had Fatal Influence pick up the victory over Jada Parker and Lola Vice. Kalani Jordan did commentary for this. It was Fallon Henley and JC Jane. Jada Parker and Lola Vice worked well together as a team, but there were spots where Jada went for that tag at one point. Lola Vice got into the ring to stop JC, who was running towards Jada Parker. And Parker argued with Lola Vice as if she was going for her, as if JC Jane wasn't right there next to her. So that was goofy to me. But Jasmine Nix got involved a couple of times. One time, Nix distracted Jada Parker. And then Lola Vice got sent into her. That was like a 2 strikes, you're out sort of deal. Jada Parker left. And Lola Vice had a small little comeback when Parker left. And I thought that was going to lead to Lola Vice picking up that victory. But Fatal Influence got the better of her. And then they spoke afterwards, said that their focus is on the North American Championship, and called Kalani Jordan into the ring. And Kalani Jordan was like, "I figured you would do this, so I came with backup." And that comes with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, the tag team champions. And they put down Fatal Influence. It sets up a 6-woman tag for next week on NXT. After that, there was a vignette of a mystery woman. We know it's Delta, but we don't know it's Delta. They didn't say her name or anything, but we know who she was previously. We don't know if she's going to keep the name Delta or not. and I think it was a pretty intriguing vignette. So I'm looking forward to any sort of new talent on TV. The main event saw Trick Williams pick up the victory over Ethan Page to become the new NXT champion. I wasn't expecting that as the outcome. I probably should have. CM Punk was the guest referee, but it seemed like Trick was winning the whole, as soon as the match started, it seemed like Trick was going to be walking out champion. But this was a fun match. CM Punk called this right down the middle. I like the spot where Ethan Page tried to cheat with his feet on the ropes. Obviously, CM Punk calling it right down the middle stops the count. Trick went through the barricade at one point, and Ethan Page ends up hitting Ego's Edge through the commentary table, kind of looking like Trick Williams wasn't going to win at that point. I liked they repeated that spot where Ethan Page, he got hit with the trick knee and the trick shot and landed on Trick Williams. That pin, that's how he won the championship. I'm a fan that they repeated that spot. But Ethan Page, while staring directly at CM Punk, hits a GTS. And he went for another Ego's Edge. Trick got out of it. I thought there was going to be a ref bump spot right there, but that wasn't the case. And Trick Williams hit the trick shot and won the match. And while he was celebrating, Ethan Page started arguing with CM Punk. CM Punk hit the GTS. That's the closing shot. GTS and then CM Punk celebrating with Trick Williams. Does that draw CM Punk back to NXT? Or does Ethan Page go up to the main roster? Should be interesting. I'm very much so looking forward to next week's episode of NXT. But for now, going to move over to SmackDown. It opened up with AJ Styles. Hardy introduced him. The crowd was super hot for AJ Styles' return. He said that he's done a lot of regrettable things recently, and now he's trying to rebuild his legacy, which was interrupted by Carmelo Hayes. And Carmelo said that he deserves to be the United States champion. And AJ tried to give him advice about LA Knight. And he's like, I don't take advice from quitters. And then AJ said that if he was really that good, he'd be U.S. champion. And Carmelo Hayes was like, well, if you're really phenomenal, you'd be the WWE champion. I thought that was a both great interaction there. And then AJ Styles challenged Carmelo Hayes to a match, which Carmelo Hayes was like, nah, I'm good. And then LA Knight came out, basically goaded him into having that match with AJ Styles by saying that if he wins or does well in that match or impresses him or something, or if he has a good showing, he'll talk to Nick Aldis about getting him that title shot. And then we go to the match. Carmelo Hayes picks up the victory over AJ Styles via referee stoppage. Before I talk about that, just listening to Michael Cole talk about AJ Styles, the stuff that he did with the NWA and TNA, all those championships, it's like, it's crazy to hear, but also not crazy to hear. It's just like something it's unexpected, I guess, to hear on TV. During the commercial, though, AJ Styles had his ankle checked out. And when he came back, Carmelo Hayes was working AJ's leg. AJ continued to wrestle, but he hit that move on his own knee, and Charles Robinson called the match off. And LA Knight ends up getting into the ring after Carmelo was announced the winner, drops him with the BFT. Carmelo Hayes went to Nick Aldis later on and was like, well, what are you waiting for? Make the match. And Nick Aldis was like, is that really, you think that's a good showing? Via ref stoppage? We'll talk next week. I need to know how AJ's ankles do it. We saw Mia Yim pick up the victory over Chelsea Green in a dumpster match. This was fun. I like them playing into that stipulation. Chelsea's gear was great. Mia Yim, though, first of all, before she laid out that table, she put that trash can over Chelsea's head, hit that senton, and crushed Chelsea Green in that. And after that, Mia Yim laid out that table on the opening of the dumpster. Piper Niven shows up and attacks Mia, but she gets the upper hand there and ends up doing a sit-out powerbomb off the apron on top of cinder blocks, I think, if I'm not mistaken, through that table into the dumpster, and then she closed the dumpster to win, which was absolutely a crazy ending. Later on, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were walking backstage, and everyone that they ran into, A-Town Down Under, Los Lotharios, Kit Wilson, I can't remember, Pretty Deadly, escaped my mind for a moment. But nothing, they ran into Nick Aldis too. Nothing came of that. I thought there would be more to that. But after that, we saw Bayley call out Nia Jax. Bayley said, currently there are 2 people who can take that title from Nia Jax, and she's planning to be one of them and taking that title at Bad Blood. The other person would be Tiffany Stratton. And not because she thinks Tiffany Stratton is better than Nia Jax and she put over how dominant Nia Jax has been lately, but she brought up that Money in the Bank briefcase. And she said when Tiffany Stratton gets tired of Nia Jax treating her like trash, that's when she'll snap basically and cash in. And Tiffany Stratton was like, you don't think I'm good enough? And then she said she doesn't need the briefcase to beat Nia Jax. Got super flustered to walk that back, saying, I wouldn't cash in on Nia Jax. And then Tiffany Stratton was like, you should bow down to Nia Jax. I think Bayley was like, you should bow down to Nia Jax. And then after more words, Tiffany Stratton went to attack Bayley, but Bayley took her out. Nia Jax took Bayley down, but missed a senton. And Bayley beat Nia Jax with the briefcase. And then Tiffany Stratton got her case back. People thought she was going to be cashing in. Nia Jax turns around, gives her the most evil eye ever, leaves the ring. Tiffany goes on to have her match, loses to Naomi, which, by the way, we found out earlier that Naomi will be joining Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair as the hosts of Bad Blood. But Naomi controlled most of this match. I liked the apron stuff that Naomi did. The sliding slap I thought was nice. Tiffany Stratton at one point rolled through a crossbody, but Naomi got out of that. We saw Tiffany Stratton move out of the way of that split-legged moonsault, and then Naomi moved out of the way from the prettiest moonsault ever. And Naomi ends up reversing a pin to get the victory. I hate finishes like that. Tiffany Stratton didn't even try to get out of that, but I enjoyed this match. And later on, Nia Jax made Tiffany Stratton say that she'll never cash in on her. And when Nia Jax walked away, Tiffany Stratton looked at her briefcase. So who knows where that's going? Before I move to the main event, there was a vignette that was aired during SmackDown. And there was a car speeding through the streets of different locations, I guess via the internet, of Detroit. There was police, there was a helicopter. All signs for that seemingly point to Motor City Machine Guns. So I guess if that is actually for Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, that's no NXT for them. And they'll be coming to SmackDown. It said coming soon. Hopefully they're the ones to, not to jump ahead, take the championships. The main event, we had the Bloodline pick up the victory over DIY and the Street Profits in a ladder match to retain the tag team championships. DIY and the Profits pretty early on worked together to take the Bloodline out, but the Bloodline came back. Dawkins doing that senton outside, diving outside to the ring onto that ladder to take out the Bloodline, I thought was pretty cool. The Shatter Machine off the ladder to Tama Tonga was nice from DIY. They went for meat in the middle, but Tonga Loa took Johnny Gargano out. Ciampa was still able to hit that knee, but Tonga Loa ends up taking Ciampa down. Ends up with a ladder around his neck, though. And DIY were able to successfully hit that meat in the middle on the ladder. around his neck. So I thought that was cool. The Street Profits did a doomsday blockbuster with Montez Ford diving over the ladder to do it, which wasn't the prettiest, but it was still very effective. I thought that was a cool spot. B-Fab ended up saving Dawkins from being hit with a chair. DIY then attacked the Bloodline with chairs. They also held Tongaloa down on a table so that Montez Ford could hit a frog splash from the top rope through that table. And then DIY and the Street Profits beat Tama Tonga down to do a shield bomb through the commentary table. Both teams end up falling off the ladder or being pushed off the ladder through ladders. And Tongaloa was able to climb to the top and win the championships, win the match, retain the championships. Him standing on top of the ladder like that was crazy. But I thought that was a very awesome match on SmackDown. Like I said, if that is in fact Motor City Machine Guns, I would hope that they're the ones taking those titles from the Bloodline. So
that was SmackDown. Going to do predictions for WWE Bad Blood taking place in Atlanta, Georgia at the State Farm Arena. I kind of wish they included Taylor Swift's Bad Blood for this event in some capacity, like a recap video or something like that. But that's not the case.
I think they would have to get they probably would have to jump through many hoops to get clearance for that one.
I don't know. I think it's just here's the rights fees.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be giving up the rights to use Bad Blood for WWE.
Why not? I don't see why not. So we have Bad Blood taking place. It is the 25th anniversary. I forget which anniversary of to the day of the first Bad Blood. So I think that's pretty cool. And the first ever Hell in a Cell. We have Liv Morgan defending the women's championship against Rhea Ripley, with Dominic being suspended above the ring in a shark cage. Liv Morgan. Maybe we see Raquel. I'm sticking with that.
I am going to go with Liv Morgan.
So, and probably maybe Raquel.
Not
See.
yet. Yeah, I'm not going with Raquel yet.
We have Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. This is tough.
I'm going to go with
Does Judgment Day sweep or do the Terror Twins?
Who are you going with?
It's very tough. Part of me wants to say Finn Balor, even though deep down inside I think Damian Priest might win, but I'm going to say Finn Balor.
I'm going to go Damian Priest.
For the WWE Women's Championship, Nia Jax defends the title against Bayley.
Nia Jax.
Nia Jax, I believe, as well. We have the tag team match, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns taking on the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu.
Reigns and Rhodes.
Yeah, I think that seems very likely. I'm going to say that as well. For the Hell in a Cell return, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre.
I'm going to go with CM Punk.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre got the one up last time. I'm going Punk now.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with CM Punk as well. So those are our predictions for Bad Blood. Going to take a quick little break right now, and I'll be right back here on Markin Out.
This is the premier athlete, Tony Nese, and you're listening to Markin Out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Markin Out episode 713. AEW Rampage last week kicked off with the House of Black picking up the victory over Top Flight. No longer pilots. Action Andretti was pretty fed up in this match, and he kept causing his team to get knocked down. And in the end, he tagged himself in. He got kicked into Leo Rush and then knocked out by Malachi Black. I thought this was a fun match.
I hated the aftermath. Action Andretti, I feel like, should have been knocked out from that kick from Malachi Black. But he was up. He was throwing water at the House of Black. And Top Flight saved him before House of Black could hit Cerberus on him. On Collision, Brody King picked up the victory over Action Andretti. Andretti got some quick moves in at the start. But Brody King basically shut him the absolute heck down. On Rampage, they showed the Righteous watching the match. And after this, they ran down with Lance Archer. They attacked Top Flight. I hope this leads to them being featured and pushed. We'll find out, I guess, for next week's episode. After that, we saw Anna Jay pick up the victory over Robin Renegade. It was nice to see Anna Jay back. She's been in Stardom for the past 3 months. Somewhat of a quick match. There was no doubt that Anna Jay was winning this. We saw Takeshita pick up the victory over Angelico. I had to remember how he wanted it pronounced these days. This match, this did nothing for Takeshita to me. Especially knowing what I know for what happened on Dynamite. Angelico doesn't win anything. So what does this do? This is an AEW Dark stat match for Takeshita. When a match like this goes almost 10 minutes, to me it makes Takeshita look bad. You saw the Acclaimed pick up the victory over Ryan Clancy and TJ Crawford. I don't understand why the Acclaimed is facing people not signed to AEW. You're not building them up as stars. You're trying to build them up to face Maximum Male models. On a level, the Acclaimed are levels above Maximum Male models. So really you need to maintain the Acclaimed, not build them up. You need to build up Maximum Male models. On Collision, Maximum Male Models presented Max Caster's vest. It turned out to be Billy Gunn who was modeling it. I don't want to say this was a waste of segment, but I think it was placed in the wrong spot on Collision. But back to Rampage, Willow Nightingale picked up the victory over Taya Valkyrie. Taya's last win in AEW was July 2023. So why would we think she was beating Willow here? On Collision, Jamie Hayter picked up the victory over Saraya in a Saraya's Rules match. This was part of Grand Slam, and it was basically 2-on-1. Saraya's Rules, we saw a nasty VCR spot. Nasty. The computer keyboard was used. Saraya accidentally hit Harley Cameron with a cookie sheet. I like the scoop power slam off the apron to Saraya. That table spot had to suck for Harley Cameron. Saraya hit Jamie Hayter with a chair and they both fell off the bottom of the bottom rope, I guess, and the apron. Jamie Hayter goes through a table. Harley Cameron just lands on the edge of a table. And a lot of people like to trash Saraya, but I thought this match, for what it was, I thought this match was good. And I very much so enjoyed it. The Learning Tree picked up the victory over the Conglomeration in a 6-man tornado tag. The only thing you need to note from this is that Big Bill put Mark Briscoe through a table with a choke slam off the top rope. And then Chris Jericho pinned him and signaled that he wants a title shot, obviously the Ring of Honor Championship. The Learning Tree had a segment on Dynamite where Jericho actually laid out that challenge for Wrestle Dream. The Conglomeration came out. They went back and forth on the mic. Jericho said that he doesn't think Mark could beat him. Maybe Jay could have beat him. And Mark will never be as good as Jay. Then Mark pops Jericho in the face and he accepts the match for Wrestle Dream. I thought there was going to be some sort of stipulation put on that, but I don't know how I feel about them using Jay Briscoe like that. After that, Jack Perry picked up the victory on Collision over Minoru Suzuki via countout to retain the championship. One of the only times maybe that Aubrey is actually counted. And the match, it was what you would have expected from Minoru Suzuki. I don't think this was needed.
Jack Perry attacks Suzuki afterwards. Shibata makes the save. He made the challenge on Dynamite to Jack Perry. Jack Perry's like, I'll think about it, and then he ends up attacking Shibata before he actually accepts the challenge. We'll put a pin in him. We saw the Blackpool Combat Club pick up the victory over Private Party and Commander to retain the championships. A lot of this was Claudio and Pac, rightfully so. Wheeler Yuta looked very conflicted in this. Maybe checked out at times, which is very understandable. Claudio finally tags in Wheeler Yuta to do the giant swing and kick that they do together. Yuta doesn't do it. And Yuta gets slapped in the face, and he ends up snapping and wins the match for the team. We'll put a pin in all of them. Hologram picked up the victory over Black Taurus and Drilistico. I thought it was nice to see Drilistico back. It's been almost a year since we've seen him in AEW. I didn't really understand why this was taking place, but it was a fun match. That Poison Rana from Hologram I thought was super dope. Black Taurus, though, accidentally hits Drilistico. Hologram sent him outside and he stole the victory. I don't know how I feel about that ending, but Drilistico and Black Taurus argued and pushed each other afterwards. Roos shows up, gets them to work together, and now LFI seems to be back in business. Very much so like the Righteous. I really hope this leads to a mega push. You had Adam Page pick up the victory over Double J in a lumberjack strap match. This wasn't a strap match. Everyone had belts. The Bang Bang Gang, Dark Order, Triple J, they all served as lumberjacks. I feel like all of them should have been wanting to attack Hangman. But in the end, Hangman low-blowed Jeff Jarrett and picks up the victory off of that. Hangman then attacks, I guess, really the Bang Bang Gang. Escapes before he can get beat down. We'll put a pin in Hangman. And then the main event saw Okada pick up the victory over Sammy Guevara to retain. This didn't feel like a main event. And the ending was kind of abrupt for me. And Sammy Guevara, in my opinion, looked so much better than Okada in this match. Moving over to AEW Dynamite's 5-year anniversary show. Before the actual show, it was announced that AEW will soon be available on Max. The pay-per-views will be cheaper, but not free. I think that's a huge fail to not have the pay-per-views included with that Max deal. But every other part of this deal, very good for AEW. It's remaining on TBS. It's remaining on TNT. Rampage, it seems like, is gone, but people think that show will happen on Fox, the AEW Shockwave. I was really, really hoping that pay-per-views would go for free to Max streaming, but that's not the case. I think the library will be available as well, so that's finally happening as well. 5 years it took, and I'm so happy that we can go back and finally watch matches back for free. Well, I mean, if you have Max. But the show cold open with the Blackpool Combat Club. They spoke to Wheeler Yuta first, saying that they haven't changed and his mind should be made up. And then Mox said that he prayed for Bryan Danielson to not win that AEW championship, and he's going to get it one way or another. And then he'll send Bryan home for good. I thought that was a very, very good start to this show. Kind of, for me, goes downhill. We had Will Ospreay pick up the victory over Ricochet via disqualification. Will Ospreay obviously retains, but this is what you would have expected move-wise from Will Ospreay and Ricochet. I had way higher expectations for this match. I thought it would have been better than their last matches in 2017, and I really don't think it came close to that. The referee at one point counts both men down for a pin and calls a no contest, which is so stupid. And then Tony Khan makes the decision for the match to continue, only for Takeshita to come out and take Will Ospreay out and then take Ricochet out. So you have the match end twice in no ending ends. I thought that was bad. After that, Mercedes was backstage celebrating the 5-year anniversary, and she aired a best of video for AEW Dynamite. Just clips of her. I think that's a standard heel move there. But MVP showed up and offered her his card. So I thought that was interesting. Later on, MVP had a big announcement. Prince Nana interrupted him and said he used to be a pro wrestler and he'll lace up his boots to face him. And MVP was not. He was about to introduce somebody, and then he introduces Shelton Benjamin, who finally debuts in AEW. I feel like people have been waiting for that to happen since October 2019. So I'm happy to see Shelton Benjamin in AEW if he gets used. I would love for Shelton Benjamin to be the AEW champion. Obviously, that's probably never happening. Would be fantastic, though. After that, Darby Allin cut a promo from a junkyard, issuing an open challenge for WrestleDream. Given that segment with MVP and Shelton Benjamin, I could only hope for Bobby Lashley to be that person and to obviously beat Darby Allin there. What better way to introduce the Hurt Syndicate than to make one of the pillars fall? Bobby Lashley, boom. I don't even want like a long ass match. I want like, boom, Hurt Lock. That's it. Darby's done. After that, Hangman picked up the victory over Juice Robinson. Earlier in the night, he attacked the Guns backstage with a chair. So like the whole story was, oh, nobody's out there for Juice Robinson, which just perfectly lines up a return. I wish that wasn't the story there, but I understand that portion of it. But Hangman attacked Juice before the match started, starts whipping him with a strap. They brawl in the crowd. And I hated that all of that took place before the actual match began because I feel like the match wasn't necessary. I did like that barricade spot with Juice hitting that cannonball, and Juice looked fantastic in this match. But in the end, Hangman low blows Juice Robinson while distracting the referee, and it leads to the end, and Hangman attacks Juice Robinson with his belt. And then Jay White made the save, but I'm pretty sure Jay White was out for like 3 months, so it's good to have Jay White back. But if they were going to do that saving part, was that match actually necessary? And commentary was so bad during that. I hated commentary during that whole segment. So I don't think the match was needed there at all. After that, Britt Baker picked up the victory over Serena Deeb. I thought the match was fine. The Twitter timeline was not having it at all with this match. But Britt Baker got a huge ovation in Pittsburgh. Mariah May sat in the crowd for this, which I feel like doesn't line up with this feud necessarily. I know Britt Baker's trying to maybe build her way back up to that championship. But everything that takes place, I thought this was going to be a much more technical match. I thought maybe they thought it was going to be a more technical match. But in the end, Britt Baker gets lockjaw, gets the victory. Mariah May just couldn't care less about this. And Serena Deeb attacked Britt Baker. After the match, Queen Aminata makes a save. She's jumping from partner to partner to partner. And then backstage, Mariah May doesn't even recognize this match. She just goes on to talk about Willow Nightingale, saying that she's the definition of failing up. And then Willow got into her face. It came to blows, got separated. Was it necessary to have Mariah May ringside for that match if she wasn't even going to make any mention of Britt Baker or Serena Deeb? You had a Hook interview. Taz was taken out before the show started. Hook basically said he'll find whoever did it. I don't know who it will be. At this point, I can't even guess. You had Private Party defeat the Iron Savages. This match pissed me off because there was no reason why this was taking place. I like everyone in this match, but there was zero reason for this match to be taking place, especially since they had that overrun. There was no reason to have the overrun.
You didn't need this segment. You didn't need that learning tree segment. You could have cut those segments. This does nothing for anybody. The outcome of this was Cassidy saying they'll be the next champions. And then they called out the Young Bucks for a match right then and there. The Young Bucks come out, they tease giving him the match. And then they're like, we have limited dates, so we're good. And then Jack Perry attacked them. The Bucks jump in. Shibata makes a save. Christopher Daniels comes out and makes it a Rampage match. Where does Private Party get off challenging the champions to a match? Where are their big wins? They just lost to the Blackpool Combat Club on Collision. What in that time frame is like, oh yeah, we deserve a title shot? You don't. And then the main event of the 5-year anniversary, Bryan Danielson picked up the victory over Okada to retain the championship. Okada retained his title as well. The first 20 minutes, the title was on the line only for Okada. But for challenging Okada to this match, I think Bryan Danielson once again looks incredibly stupid. Why is there no tunnel vision for the Blackpool Combat Club and only the Blackpool Combat Club? Why is he trying to fight with himself? I need to do this. You don't need to do this. You need to focus on that. There's no reason to make Bryan Danielson look stupid. And they kept hyping up a significant overrun for this. So, like I said before, many things did not need to happen. And then at 10 p.m. when this show's supposed to be over, they go into commercials. I can't even begin to say how pissed off I was that I had to sit there and watch commercials. And I thought hopefully maybe that's it. Maybe that's the one and only commercial break. There were more commercials. An overrun does not have commercials. And most of this match was fought on the outside of the ring. Okada at one point was able to hit a tombstone on a chair. Referee didn't care. Not a care in the world. Bryan had Okada locked in the submission. He then hit the Psycho knee. Okada rolled out of the ring. That's when Bryan lost his shot at the Continental Championship. Overall, I thought the match was fine. If you take out the outside of the ring stuff, I liked all them using each other's moves, but I just didn't feel this match in total. The Blackpool Combat Club showed up at the very end, and that distracted Okada, and Bryan gets the victory off of that. Okada lays out Bryan Danielson after the match. Claudio and Pac show up, pick up Bryan Danielson. Marina Shafir and Jon Moxley show up. Mox mentions a mystery person controlling them, basically, which people still think it's probably Shane McMahon. Wheeler Yuta ran down, and the Blackpool Combat Club scurried off, but Moxley got back into the ring. I really thought Yuta was going to hit Bryan with that hammer. He ends up fighting them off with Bryan. And then he challenged them for a match next week. It gets set up where we're going to see Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta versus the Blackpool Combat Club. Maybe that's when Wheeler Yuta turns on Bryan Danielson. We'll see, but this episode was very much so all over the place. And for it to be a 5-year anniversary, it just felt like a weaker episode of Dynamite. So that's AEW Dynamite. Hey, Brandon, got any shout outs?
This is Yoda, and listening to Brandon's shout-outs you are.
The first shout out goes to Nobody Wants This, which is a new rom-com television program on Netflix starring Kristen Bell as a podcaster and Adam Brody, who plays a rabbi that she falls in love with. You probably haven't seen a trailer for this or heard anything about it?
No, I have not.
It's 10 episodes. It's a pretty quick watch. And I think it's exactly what a rom-com should be. So if you like rom-coms, watch this. Hopefully there's a season 2 coming. My next shout out goes to Dame Maggie Smith, who unfortunately passed away last week at the age of 89. An absolute legend. I know a lot of people know her from her roles in Harry Potter and Downton Abbey, but for me, probably the very first time that I would have seen her would have been as Wendy Darling in Hook and Mother Superior in Sister Act. And what's crazy about Hook, she was only 56 years old, but they aged her to be like 92 with makeup. Which,
no way.
looking back, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, now I can see that. But thinking back to my childhood brain, I thought she was 100% that age. So
yeah, I didn't know that.
So I thought that was pretty crazy. But she participated in theater, movies, television in 8 different decades. She's won Oscars, Tonys, Emmys, and so many more awards for her work. Go watch some of her stuff this weekend. Another shout out of mine is going to Chris Christopherson, who passed away at the age of 88. A country singer turned actor. Had songs like Loving Her Was Easier Than Anything I'll Ever Do Again, Me and Bobby McGee, Sunday Morning Coming Down, and so many more songs. He was part of the supergroup The Highwaymen with Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Johnny Cash. Started movies like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. He was in the original A Star Is Born. Songwriter.
Blade.
One of my favorite movies, Dolphin Tale. But so many other films as well. I saw him perform live at Pete Seeger's 90th birthday party from Madison Square Garden back in 2009, where he did There's a Hole in the Bucket. Obviously, everybody knows that song. I feel like it's like the folk music is more for like children. Mm-hmm. He did that with Ani DeFranco. He did Maggie's Farm, a Bob Dylan cover, with Ramblin' Jack Elliott, Richie Havens, Warren Haynes, Taj Mahal, Keller Williams as well. And then everybody at the end of the show sang happy birthday to Pete Seeger. They performed This Land Is Your Land, Well May the World Go, This Little Light of Mine, Good Night Irene. So I'll always, I really always wanted to see him perform on his own, but that was the only time I got to see him.
Man, I never had the chance to see him. His son was in the WWE as well.
Yeah, his son Jody was a pro wrestler. Garrett Dillon was his name in FCW and NXT. He teamed a bit with Vader's son, Jake Carter. Also teamed with Scott Dawson. But I remember during a Twitch stream, I asked Aiden English, he was going over his class of NXT, and I asked him if he had ever met Chris Christopherson, and he said Chris Christopherson showed up to NXT one time, and Dusty Rhodes marked the absolute heck out for that. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Go listen to Chris Christopherson's music. Watch some of his movies this weekend as well. Another shout out of mine, I'm going with Ken Page. He passed away at the age of 70. He got his start in theater, and his breakout role was in Ain't Misbehavin'. He appeared in Cats, many other Broadway shows and stuff like that. But for me, and I think every Disney fan, he was Oogie Boogie in The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I think Oogie Boogie is one of the greatest Disney villains because of his voice. His voice, it was so fitting for that role. And I really regret not going to see that Nightmare Before Christmas concert that they did at Barclays a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I did, though, see him live in A Christmas Carol at the theater at Madison Square Garden in 1997. I don't really remember that at all.
That's pretty cool.
But I know he was in that. And it's October now, so you could definitely already start watching The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then my final shout out goes to John Amos, who passed away at the age of 84 back in August. It wasn't announced until this week, it was very surprising to see that. But his most famous roles were in Roots and Good Times. He was also on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, The West Wing, Coming to America. And I hope people go watch Good Times if they've never seen it, because it was such a different time in America when that show was aired. It was groundbreaking television because it was the first African-American two-parent family sitcom. And he was the father on that show. It's a spin-off of Maude, which was in itself a spin-off of All in the Family. But if you have Peacock, you can watch Good Times. And I very much so think you should watch Good Times. So those are my shout-outs. Now it's time for
Mark Out Moment of the Week.
That is right, our Mark Out Moment of the Week. What do you got?
What do I got? John Cena on The Simpsons. Now, Bret Hart is not the only pro wrestler to portray a Simpsons character.
But he doesn't have a figure of The Simpsons.
Yet.
But yeah, The Simpsons kicked off their 36th season with a bit about this being their final episode. And they went through different finale scenarios, which unfortunately it's not the actual finale. But it was jam-packed with cameos, including, like you said, John Cena, who for some reason looked like Dave Meltzer. But I think in making light of the critics saying that this show has sucked for so many years, and them doing all of this, I think it made for a very enjoyable episode.
I never got into The Simpsons, really.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
In the 36 years it's been on the
never
air.
Got in. Never really. I mean, I've seen episodes, I've watched episodes, I've enjoyed episodes, but I've never been really a huge fanatic like Chris is. And
I'm not a huge
like
fan of The Simpsons either, but I have seen every episode. I can't stop watching the damn show because I've seen so many episodes. I can't just do that. I wish they would cancel. But the end credits also for this episode popped me because one of the finale, it was just like they were showing different pictures at the end credits and parodying the final scenes of finales. And one of them was the finale of Frasier. And in place of Frasier, they had Sideshow Bob. So I thought that was funny. Obviously, Kelsey Grammer voices Sideshow Bob, and he is Frasier. So I popped at
that's
that.
funny.
Also, the 50th season of Saturday Night Live started on Saturday, hosted by Gene Smart, who I probably would have sworn already hosted SNL, but that's not the case. But Hannah Einbinder made an appearance with Gene Smart to introduce Jelly Roll. And I thought that was cool because this was the season premiere of the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. Her mom is an original cast member. And I thought, given that this was the 50th season, she was like a 100% she'd be in line to be one of the first few hosts. And then she would do something with her mom, Lorraine Newman. But she wasn't announced to host, and I don't know if she will be. We'll see if she will.
I'm not familiar with her at all.
With the daughter.
Either.
What do you mean? You don't know Lorraine Newman?
I would have to see pictures. I would have to see pictures of her mother.
The original cast. What do you mean? There's only like 6 of them.
Yeah, I would still have to see a picture to see if I could recognize.
Well, I'm sure you would. But yeah, that's all I have for the mark out moments of the week. Nothing else, right?
No, take it home.
That was episode 713. Thank you so much for listening. You could follow us on Twitter at Markin Out, at BTTG161 on all platforms, Chris Sweendog, CM Sweeney85, David PTDPT on all platforms, Facebook.com/MarkinOut, YouTube and Instagram are MarkinOut11, ProWrestlingTees.com/MarkinOut to buy some merch if you would like to support us in that way. Also at Markin Out on TikTok. You can listen to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio, markinout.com. And we wish you
the
best
of luck in your future endeavors.
Have a fantastic week.